Alright, in today's inspirational video I wanted to share with you some very important points about the issue we have when working hard, when trying so hard to make a difference in our lives, to better our lives, to improve whatever we are experiencing, to achieve our dreams, however you want to describe it. Now I have wrote a couple of points here, or I actually was in a conversation with somebody else recently and I made these points and I wanted to share them with you because they're actually very important if we want to get away from that whole attitude of stressing ourselves out in order to achieve a dream. Because it shouldn't be a process of a rush, of hurry, rushing, of stressing out, of overworking, of feeling crazy almost to the point like, I need to manifest this right now, I need to have it as soon as possible. This whole attitude is going to be a detriment to your own well-being first and foremost, because it's going to give you stress and breaks down your body. And second of all, it's also not going to make life very enjoyable if you're stuck in that cycle. So here are the points that I shared with this person, and I'm going to read them for you. Now, I started it out with saying the attitude of I'm going to have it my way, while doing things you do not enjoy, makes it so you get what you want, but not in a pleasant way in the long run. Still, most people would settle for that than having no hope at all. Now, what I meant by that statement at the time was that, most of us are having a job and we may have bigger dreams than the job entails. So we feel kind of stuck. We feel like we can't really go for our dreams because after all, we have this job that we need to focus on. But you see, if you're going to use a job in order to realize a dream, let's say you want to build a budget to the income you receive, well, you better be clear on what else you're going to do with your life once you've got the budget. So people can go to work and they're like, I'm going to make this amount of money over maybe 1 or 2 years. Then I have maybe $10,000 in my bank account to spare. And then I can do something with that money, right? Well, the problem here is that if you're not sure on what you're going to do with the money, then the money also isn't going to be really that helpful to you in the end. And this is the issue most people face, is that they don't have a clear idea of what they're actually planning on doing with it. Now I went on to say to this person, basically what you will discover one day is whether you are a person of wisdom or not. And you can base this on the activities in your own life. That is the most ultimate confrontation. When one looks at their own life and sees what they are doing, is this in harmony with what I want? And then reasoning steps in and says, well, I do it so I can then live somewhere else, for example. That is alright, because this person in question wants to live somewhere else. At least that's what they told me. And there's many people out there that have this idea, this kind of novel idea where they're like, I wish I could live in that country, I wish I could live over there. Somewhere totally else than where they're living currently. And then they get a job in order to live there, but they're still not executing the greatest power that they have, which is their own imagination that can set them free. So I said that it's alright to live like this if you get a job in order to afford living somewhere else or to at least travel. But the problem being, once you arrive somewhere else, you will still do the same thing if you don't watch out. In other words, this is why it's so important next to a job that we're having to consider, how do I really want to make a living? We all have dreams and ideas of how we would like to make a living, but not always are we executing those dreams. If you know what it is you want, you should learn to work on that also at the same time. But in the end, it's always up to us. So if you have a bigger vision for your life while still having a day job, then you want to understand that you want to work on that vision besides the day job that you're having right now. If you want to escape the clutches of hourly wages and stuff like that. If you want to live in total freedom like many people are in this day and age, especially because of the internet and the way, we're connected to each other. We can do business all over the world through the internet by now. And then you can live the way you want to live. Make your own time, set your own working hours. So I said to them, in my case I work on YouTube and I know if I build it up big enough I can live somewhere else if that's what I want. And if I live in another country, for example, I can still do YouTube as well. So there's a huge difference. You see, I don't have to go out and find yet another job and realize I'm still stuck in the cycle of day jobs. I have bigger dreams that I want to execute. But you see, most people miss this point. They miss it altogether in their own lives. They keep ending up in dead-end jobs. And then they complain about it. They don't like their jobs. One would almost say, why don't you quit? well, then their response would be, well, I need to pay bills, I need money to travel, I need money to at least try and execute my dreams. And then I would have to say, well, there you go. Without even noticing, you have closed off your mind to other ways of making money in life. Because by that attitude, you are closing your mind to any other possibilities, since you are still, due to mass consciousness, believing that a job is the only way to make money, even though consciously we all know it's not true. It is not true. So in your case, whatever your job is, and you have bigger dreams than that job, do not worry, do not stress out over this concept. In order to make this point very easy for you to grasp, I wrote the following. First, I wanted to share with you some concepts about YouTubers, and then I'll build up on it so you can learn how to apply this all in your life once and for all. It is therefore no surprise to me personally that almost all, if not every YouTuber out there who do it for a living, and when they date someone, for example, as well, that the person they date also don't work a day job at all, since they either learned there's other ways of doing things in life, or they simply don't have to work because they make so much money it doesn't even matter at all anymore. But with all these people, YouTubers, actors, musicians, people who start their own business, people that live the good life, they all have one thing in common. And many of them actually started working at a shitty job, if we want to call it that way. But next to their job, they dare to work on something for themselves. And then you simply want to remember, the more time you spend on something, the more it will start to expand in your world, until one day it expands beyond your job, and then the job becomes either a side activity or something you can forget altogether. The issue is most people got it backwards. They focus more on their job than on their own dreams, and so they never end up living their dreams. Now this all ties into not working hard. Don't try so hard, because what happens to people is once they learn this, they want to sort of rush the whole process. They're like, oh my god, yes, that's so true, I need to work on my dreams, let me start right now, let me do as much as I can. Well, that's not the right attitude to have either. You always want to be in a calm state of mind. With a calm state of mind, you'll understand that what I just shared with you, especially at the end a few seconds ago, is very important. Again, I'll repeat it for you. The more time you spend on something, the more it will start to expand in your world, until one day it expands beyond your current job, and then the job becomes either a side activity or something you can forget altogether. The issue is most people got it backwards. They focus more on their job than on their own dreams, and so they never end up living their dreams. Can't you tell this is how society is operating? This is how the average man or woman is operating in this world. Now, this whole video, we're talking about jobs, this and that. I'm not saying that having a job is a bad thing either. Of course it isn't. But I do realize many people do have a job and they don't like the job, but then they reason, I do it so I can live my dreams, right? Well, that's what they say, but it doesn't bring them anywhere. Some people will succeed in that way with that attitude, but most, if not, well, I guess the majority of us all won't succeed with that attitude. Why? Because our attention is mostly focused on still having a job and not living our dreams. But we want to change that around. We want to make living our dreams the main and prime motivating factor of our lives, because that is how you make life worth living, if you can do absolutely what you love to do. Now, making a living doing what you love to do is possible. It's not absurd. It is a real possibility. There's millions of people out there on the planet that are doing it right now. Why aren't we joining them? And if we do want to join them, we're going to have to keep an open mind and start to consider for ourselves, alright, how did they go about doing their things in life? How did they go about creating this career for themselves? And what you're going to find is exactly what I just shared with you earlier again. They may have had a job at first, like all of us, we all need to make money somehow, but then we want to spend most of our free time when we're not at a job working on our dreams. That is exactly what I did in my early teens already. Back then it wasn't necessarily having a job, but I did have to go to school. So a lot of my time was spent at school studying things that I wasn't particularly interested in, but I do remember very clearly if I was gone from school during breaks, lunch breaks, even then I would work on my dream. I would get out a map, I would start writing, I would start planning. And when I was at home, I would start writing, planning. I would do all sorts of activities that were in harmony with my bigger dream in life. And then it didn't feel like hard work for me. Because you see, I got rid of that idea of first I gotta work really hard on this job so I can finally one day live my dream. It's that subtle attitude of mind that we want to get rid of. We just want to understand that if you have to work a job, at least to pay bills, at least to afford a roof over your head, to get food on the table, that's totally fine and totally normal, and it's very important, of course, to have that if you want to live a comfortable life, physically speaking. But as you're doing that, never sort of suppress your own dreams, because that's ultimately what we're doing. We're suppressing our own dreams by allowing the stress of a job to get in the way of the bigger picture. So stop working so hard. Stop trying so hard. Set aside the hours that you need for work, and once you're done with work, be sure to have a dream that is so huge and so awesome that you can't help but become totally excited and filled with energy to now take action on that dream in any way you feel inspired to do it. Because many people will say, I have a hard job, which is true. Some jobs are very, exhausting physically speaking, and then they're at home and they're like, I'm so tired, I can't work at my dream. That's like settling for less than you could have, man. I know it sounds kind of cold maybe for me to put it like that, but it's the truth. Now, how do you release energy? My mentor would always tell me, desire releases energy. If you truly desire to achieve a certain thing, then you'll get the energy to do it, to make it happen. Now let it all sink in, because if you really grasp this, you start to realize that it's not a matter of hard work, it's a matter of smart work. It's a matter of hooking up to your own infinite source of supply within consciousness. Connect yourself with your dream and let it unfold during the times that you have for yourself. You see, you can either have a job and then say you have a dream, but then when you get home you start mindlessly watching television or surfing the internet without getting anything done concerning your dream. Or you can have a job and then once you're free from the job during those hours, you start working at your dream. Is that too complicated? It shouldn't be complicated. That's all there is to it. And then remember, the more time you spend on your dream, the more it can expand, and one day it will be bigger than your day job, most likely, and then you can get rid of it if you want. And you're finally living your dreams. Keep this carefully in mind. With that being said, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And never forget, dear viewer, that we are the dreamers.